about 6 months after the release of the game, I finally beat it. And holy shit, was this an awesome and fun experience for me to bring to you guys. The game pretty much gave me exactly what I wanted out of a sequel. A new and interesting world to explore, creative bosses, and as well as dangerous and daring challenges to overcome. All of these things is what makes Dark Souls an outstanding game series that it's known for today. But there are a few things about the game that really bothered me in the long run, which honestly made the sequel not nearly as impactful as its predecessor, and not nearly to the same degree as its grandfather. The main reason why this game won't be as highly regarded in the Souls series of games is that Dark Souls 2 feels like a game. And I'm sure this is a bit of a weird comment for most of you, like, duh, of course this game is a game. I put it into my gaming system and played my video game. But an important thing to note is that above just being a video game, Demon's Souls and Dark Souls was an experience. The games were infamous for being known as being one of the hardest and most unrelenting and oppressive games of that RPG genre. With the art style, the immersion, the challenges that you overcome, it made the game an experience worth all the time and effort to play. While new players to the Souls series might feel the same way, especially if this was their first installment, Dark Souls 2 introduced new elements to their formula that made the game feel more like I was just playing a game rather than enduring an experience its predecessors had to offer. The first was the bosses. The bosses were done amazingly and they were all very unique and integrated the lore and the environment around them. But there were so many of them. Find a new area, encounter a sub-boss, continue in that area, maybe fight another sub-boss, and then finally reach the main boss of that area. This isn't inherently a bad thing, since the boss fights is what made Demon's Souls and Dark Souls exciting. You are rewarded after going through a new place with an exciting and powerful boss. But with how frequently you face these enemies, it took away the impact of fighting these powerful beings, and once again made it feel more gamey, and a little bit more like something like Mega Man, for example. On top of this fact, the bosses and sub-bosses weren't very challenging. Maybe that's just because I've played Demon's Souls and Dark Souls before picking up the newest installment, but for most of the bosses in this game, it really only took me maybe 1 to 3 attempts to kill them off, which was a big letdown for the overall difficulty, in my opinion, the overall experience of the game. The only other big thing I feel was a huge issue with the game is that I got lost way too many times. There were about 3 to 4 times in this game where I had no idea where to go. No doors would open, and I just could not figure out how to progress. This is a bit of a mixed topic for myself because this really encouraged you to explore the world. And as a fan of RPGs, this is something that I feel is a bit lost in recent RPG titles. The big difference in the experience of getting lost is kind of a fine line. In games like Legend of Zelda, getting lost is what made the games an adventure. But in other games where you get lost, you feel like it's almost an insult to you. You feel like you've missed something or you just don't have any idea where to go. And this is how I felt in Dark Souls 2. There are so many branching paths and so many doors that open at various intervals, and it's so easy to get turned around and confused on where you need to go. On top of that, some of the branching paths even lead to the same areas, which is even more disheartening once you've gone the other way. I don't want the makers telling me where I need to go, and I don't want the game to hold my hand as I'm trying to explore. But the previous titles set up their levels in such a way where I knew where I needed to go. And if not, they set something in my way, either being enemies or challenges that I couldn't overcome at the time. What really sets Demon's Souls and Dark Souls aside from the rest of these hack and slash style of RPGs was the overall experience, and more specifically, its ability to make the players feel oppressed. You really felt like a measly little human in a world of dragons and giants and monsters. You really never felt like you belonged in this universe, and that's what made overcoming these obstacles that much more impactful. Dark Souls 2 never really capitalized on this fact, mostly because the game felt more like a game rather than an experience. The only argument I could say that fit the bill would be getting lost, which in its own way made you feel oppressed. It made you feel confused and displaced in this strange land. By all means, do not take this as a negative review for the game. It's fun and exciting, and it was an awesome game to conquer. But please, play Dark Souls 2. Enjoy the game. Then do yourself a huge favor and play Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, so that you can really experience and appreciate these titles for what they have to offer. I'm Hito. See you next time.